Hello everyone, welcome back to the KMTRADERS channel. So we are in the full market analysis volume 47 now. So essentially, if you don't know what's going on here, we're just going to take a look at some of our pairs, and then we're going to compare our analysis and give you some insight for the up and coming week. So we are going to look at gold and euro USD as usual tomorrow, because there is still some things I want to talk about there. So just stay tuned out for those. So yeah, we'll start off with New Zealand dollar, US dollar. So what I was looking at last week was a possible sell-off into the market, and I was looking to see price run into 0.69. So looking through the market right now, we are in a very, pretty much consolidating market. So again, what that means is it's a ranging market. So, you can draw your support and resistance quite clearly here. So, you have a resistance there and support here. But in detail, I don't really want to do that for you guys, because I think that's pretty obvious. You guys can go ahead and do that for yourself. But what I'm trying to do here is, give you some insight of where I think price could head into before you get that turnaround essentially. So I do think that this resistance here is going to hold quite nicely. So as long as we stay below 0.73, but ultimately this high here, I am still quite bearish on this pair. So what we're seeing here through last week is price recovering quite well from this downside move. So for me, I think I am quite convinced that price could make a potential short-term move to the upside, potentially back into this area which we were looking at again last week at 0.725, and price could make a final decision here before we get that big turnaround in the market which we're looking for. So again, it doesn't have to come all the way down to 0.69, but ideally I just want to see price come to this low here. This is just somewhere as a potential target to reach. So this would be a nice psychological level at 0.7. So if we take the pip count from 0.725 to 0.7, it's just over 250 pips. So there is a good amount of pips here, and a nice amount of reward, and that's ultimately why it's worth trading these long-term moves. Even if you do take a few losses, hopefully if you do manage to get the overall run, the move should obviously pay for itself. So that's my logic behind just taking the risk on certain moves. But yeah, so that's ideally where I want to see price come into 0.725. Hopefully taking out some possibly see a lower time frame step up into the market. But yeah, we're still looking out for that short-term move to the long-term move to the downside. So just keep an eye out for that, and we'll see how it all plays out in the up and coming week. So moving on to AUD USD. So we were looking for that downside move, and as we can see, we did have a strong sell-off come into play here. So something quite interesting is actually happened towards the end of the week, and we can see it here. We do have a good amount of bullish activity coming into play. So we're going to mark out some new zones here, new levels. So this one being the low, so 0.756 being a key area in the market. And I'm also going to get rid of this. So we're also going to draw an area around the 618 fib. Obviously, you guys know it's the golden pocket zone, but this is just an area of where market could potentially head into before we have a significant turnaround. Now, it doesn't mean that price is going to exactly go to this box and then have that immediate turnaround. No. So what you need to be doing is, just essentially waiting for price to come into this area and then observing the market. This is where you're going to have to, put your own perspective onto the market. Is price still making its way to the upside, and does it have that potential to go above 0.78? Again, that's totally up to you guys, but again, this is where I'm gonna take my first look and take a perspective. And if we do see signs of rejection, possible wick rejections, upside wick rejections, huge sell-off candles, that's going to give me an idea that we're going to potentially push lower. And again, that's where following on from New Zealand dollar, that's where the idea is going to come from. So again, those two pairs do have a similar confluence, so do note that. Obviously, if it helps, it helps. But so yeah, so from that box, it's actually 150 pips to the downside. Now, I do think it's going to push a bit lower, so we could look at 200 pips. But again, it just really depends about playing your partials to safety, and not going for 1,000 pips return, and that's the ultimate way to save on your profits, and don't give too much away in the market. So that's always a good thing to look out for. So yeah, pretty much I'm looking for this week for AUD, a potential step up into the market. This could be a long time. It could take a long time for price to get to even 0.77. Again, it just depends how strong this momentum can continue. If we do get price, immediately strike off and go above this level, I will have to come back and update the video for you guys just to correct the long-term bias. But again, as long as we stay below this level 0.78, I'm looking for downside moves. So now we're moving on to USD Jpy. Now this one has been, still bullish for quite a long time, and I am looking for potential moves to the downside. Now for me, as long as we stay below 107, I am convinced that we could be pushing lower. Now we did have this drawn out here that there was a potential move to the upside. Again, this was pretty much a continuation move, and I was looking to anticipate the next move. So I wasn't too keen on getting this because, as you can see, we did miss out the perfect opportunity around these areas. So for me, unless I can get in at the bottoms or at a good turnaround point, I'm not really interested. But again, this is my personal opinion and personal trading method. So again, it's just your own experimentation in the markets. But anyway, we can see here that price did do what we kind of looked at is basically price stepping up and coming up into the market. So what I'm seeing here is price, potentially selling off, but I'm not too certain that price is, this is the turnaround point. So for me, I need to see a bit more evidence in the market that we are pushing lower, and then I can be convinced that we are going to be pushing lower, and that is where I want to take my next step and take the next move for UJ to do something like this, and to take price potentially into 103. That would be my my first initial target, but I am looking at 102 or anywhere between 102 and 103. So this area obviously is quite big, but price could head somewhere in between here. But ideally, I am looking for that downside move, regardless if it does come into 103 or 102. We can just manage that trade if it does follow down. But the main thing here is to look out for that short. And as long as we stay below 107, I am convinced that price can make a short-term move, make a move to the downside. But yeah, again, that's just all my perspective. Look at your own charts and do your own research behind it. So moving on to CAD JPY. Now this pair we actually looked at a downside bias, but as we can see, price continuated and pushed higher, taking out this triple top. So there was potential to make a bit of money here, which we were looking at. So there was just the odd 40 pips, but now that we can see prices slowly stepping up, I am convinced that we are capable of turning around still. Again, for me, I will be leaving this pair and keeping it at the back of my mind, because I'm not too worried about this pair, because I think that even though this has the potential to continue to step up, I don't think that this is the main move is towards the upside. I think that there is a possibility of this turning around, and once it does, that has the that has the higher reward in the pip count potential, as opposed to watching this push higher. I do think that this has more capability of pushing lower, and therefore obviously with that there's obviously more profits to be made. So from this high to this low there is around 150 pips, and then to the second point 250 pips. So if you can obviously get in on them, on those moves, that would be great. So yeah, I am looking for a turnaround point. Now this doesn't mean you're selling off the immediate tops. Once you see the signs, you need to wait for that strong momentum first. And yeah, so I'm not going to touch too much upon this yet, because you know this, we are seeing some bullish activity. There is still strength in the market, so there could be, you know, price continuation still upside. So I will be looking out for some short-term moves, the moves to the downside, which I do think is the more stronger move. So looking at Euro JPY here, as we can see, price is slowly stepping up. Now I did wait for this move, and I am looking for price to come over to break over 127.5, so we are seeing price come very nicely now. Nice strong momentum candle. So we'll see if we can take price above this zone here. And then once price gets to this point, I'm going to keep an eye out on the market to see if we do have that turnaround capability. If we are able to do so, there is a potential that we could have some sell-off momentum, and we could have price to come and target into this low here. So I am going to get rid of this zone here just for the time being, and you know, just focus on the first take profit level, and see if we can, you know, initially get to this standpoint before we can discuss any further moves. But from that high to this low, it's about just under 250 pips. So again, there is a lot of opportunities all around us. It's just a matter of being patient and again waiting for the moves to come to you. So as we can see here on a lower time frame, prospectively we are shifting up now. So we just need to wait for that shift to the downside, and then hopefully we can look for those entries and, you know, get in on that move to the downside. Looking at NZD JPY, I am looking for some potential sell-off opportunity still. So now that we've actually reached above this zone here, again, it's just a waiting game now. So all I'm looking for is just price to show evidence that we are pushing lower, and I'm not going to do anything too aggressive with this pair until you know, we have some sell-off capability in the market. Now if price continues to push higher and then have that sell-off, or if we do have that immediate sell-off in the start of the week, then you know, that's where the main focus is just to take out these lows in the market here. You know, primarily we're just waiting for, you know, the market to shift again. And quite similarly, you know, the markets with the JPY pairs, I feel like there is some sort of similarities coming into fruition here. So you know, most pairs with the JPYs are looking, I am looking for some downside moves, but there is the odd pair that we are looking for the upside. And again, we can see here that if we look at AUD JPY, I was looking for some downside moves, but it was actually quite confusing what was happening here, and we actually didn't manage to get in on this one. You know, I'm thinking that when I was looking over this on Friday, I can see a very tricky channel being formed here, and you know, it's quite lucky to spot this through the week, but obviously you know, this is just unlucky that we couldn't get in the perfect point. But pretty much if you've been on this channel long enough, you sometimes potentially may have seen a wedge pattern like this, a descending channel. Ultimately what this is just price respecting this level of these markets, and you know, there is usually what happens is we get a spring in the market from either direction. Now sometimes once we get a channel like this, it can spring to the downside, we're just pretty much waiting for some strong momentum here and some clear structure plays. So what we can see here through this particular channel is price respected the downside, and we had this strong momentum up, and you can see how price had these strong candles pushing higher in comparison to the lower side, and in comparison to our previous channels, if you have seen, we do get some sort of corrections along the way. So as we can see here, this is now acting as a support. So all we're doing now is just waiting for the support levels to be tested, and then we can hopefully see price potentially come back down and then continue it higher. But again, it really just depends if price does come back down. So where I'm heading with this pair right now is I'm just going to alter this trend line here to this point now. So what I'm looking at for now for this pair is potential moves to the upside. I do think we can do something like this, potential retest. So something like this, I am looking for continuations to the upside. Let's just put it that way. We may get a retest on to the trend line here. That does have a possibility here. So it could be a possible look. So just keep an eye out for that. But something simple as that, and then I could be considering a downside move in the future. But for now, I just want to focus on the current moves at hand and seeing if this trend line is going to be respected at all. But yeah, pretty much, there is a potential continuation at hand here. So just watch out for those continuations higher, as I'm seeing some good structure levels in the market right now. So for AUD JPY, we are looking at some nice plays here. So coming to the last two pairs, we are looking at USD Chef. So with this one, I am looking for some sell-off opportunities now. To be honest, I should have done a singular video update to look into this a bit further, but I have been mentioning this quite a few times on the market analysis, so I didn't feel like the need to kind of express my opinion on this pair in the sense of the long-term move, because I was looking for price to come into this zone at 0.9 and then potentially have a sell-off. So we can see that we are having some sell-off opportunities here now. So as long as price stays within this current high here, we could have some more sell-off opportunities coming into play. But if price does continuate higher, if price does push higher, then we're just waiting again for that strong momentum to kick in, and that's all you need to just wait for. So I'm already seeing price have some good momentum here. If price does come back up and recovers, then we're just waiting for price to do the same thing again. That's all we're pretty much waiting for. You don't need to take an aggressive sell on the market open and put your stop loss here. Just wait for the next one to come, and that's all you need to wait for. So in terms of the potential target that I'm personally looking out for, I am looking to target this low here. So it is a very long way. That's why I'm quite interested in this opportunity in the long run, because there's a lot of pips up for grabs here. So it's just under 300 pips to the downside. So if we can get some pips here, even if it's halfway through, I'm looking to target to around 0.88. Excuse me. To 0.88 level. To potentially even 0.87. So there is a lot of potential for this to drop, and it will be quite a lot of pips up for grabs. So again, it's up to you if you want to take a part of that trade. Looking at USD CAD, so we can see how price is now moving sideways on a lower time frame. Obviously it's up to you if you want to expand this vision, but ideally what I'm looking for here is a bit more of a downside move before we can get a push to the upside. And again, as I've said before, I am looking for price to target 1.31. So yeah, I am quite confident that price is shifting up now. I'm liking this bullish move here and this bullish move here. So as long as we ultimately stay above this low of the market, we are still pushing higher. So again, I could be wrong and price immediately drops off. And if we see a break of this low, just be cautious of the market, because price could continue to push lower and lower and lower. But yeah, I am looking for potential signs of movements to the upside. So I'm just waiting for that bullish activity in the market. And as we can see, price is stepping down, and then as soon as it makes that shift up, that's when the key is to get in the market and see if we can ride to the upside. So if we can get into, it may even come into 1.27. If it comes to 1.27, there's about 400 pips here. So we do have some good bigger plays here on USD CAD and USD Chef. The other pairs, they do have some smaller moves up for grabs, but again, these pips do add up if you can get in on them. So yeah, that's pretty much all that we're going to look at for this week. Again, it's been a pretty still a sideways moving markets, but again, there is opportunities to get in on the market. Now, we personally haven't been getting in on any of these good trades that have been up for grabs. This is just because markets are very much in a consolidative pattern, and this happens once in a while. But once the markets come back into trending motion, expect more trades to your own trades to become more successful. And again, this is just the importance of your own strategy, and if you trust it, and you just have to wait. Again, this is just how your patience in the market is being tested. So hopefully we can get in on some of these pairs. There is a lot of opportunities still up for grabs, again, week in, week out. Regardless, there's always more opportunities to come through into the market. So with that being said, guys, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I do appreciate your time for watching. If you haven't done so already, make sure you have joined our trading group. That link is in the description. And stay tuned for our next two videos, which is going to be gold and Euro USD. We do have some things that we just want to talk about there, Euro USD in particular. And yeah, so that will be all from us, guys. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you guys all in our next video.